going live here in a second. Okay, bada bada bada. All right, we're live. Cool beans. So, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's see if we can get some people on here before I start talking. Uh, and yeah, and then what I am going to talk about is the biggest mistakes I made as a financial advisor. So, the biggest mistakes I made in regards to helping my clients, so helping them succeed. Also, I want to talk about the biggest mistakes I made for myself in that business. What would I have done differently in that business now as I'm an older man and I view things a little bit differently? And I kind of know how that works. You know what? I'm going to get rid of, pardon me for 1 second. I'm going to get rid of this. Dude, now I'll leave it up. This bonsai tree. I don't like, I have a virtual background up for those of you not on TikTok and you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram or something like that. I have this virtual background of a bonsai tree because I love bonsai trees. But I hate the way it kind of goes in and out. I don't know if I'm ever going to use that again. But anyway, I want to talk about the biggest mistakes I made as a financial advisor, the biggest mistakes that I personally made with clients so that you can avoid them, for one. And then two, I'll talk about the biggest mistakes I've made myself personally. What are the biggest mistakes that I've made in finance, even being a professional in finance? So let's get started because a lot of times you can avoid these mistakes by hearing someone else's story. This is going to sound like the hokiest thing in the world, but I mean this. I mean this wholeheartedly. One of the biggest mistakes I made, me personally, I'll start with that. The biggest financial mistakes I made personally was that I didn't think putting together a budget was important. I will tell you that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my adult life. So I didn't think that a budget was important. So I also didn't think that a financial plan was important. I didn't think a strategy was important. Do you know why I didn't think that? Well, I can tell you why I'm getting rid of this virtual background because it is absolutely driving me insane. Not you on TikTok there. There we go. Yeah, I got to get rid of that. I can't live with that. That's terrible. So I didn't think that a budget was important. So naturally, I didn't think that a financial plan was important. The reason I didn't think a financial plan was important is because I have spent hundreds of hours in front of the computer learning how to invest, learning how to trade, learning how to do all these things to make money for me. And I'm great at that. I'm absolutely great at that. But where I fell short and where I fell short, and I'm talking about my personal financial life, where I fell short was when you don't have a financial plan, when you don't have a plan that you stick to, then when you don't have direct goals, you're going to go off course. So for someone like me who is really, really good at knowing where the trends are, knowing when markets are topping out, knowing how to read individual stocks, knowing how to read individual indexes, knowing where they should retrace to, when they should get there. I have stop losses set at percentages, so I never take big losses. And that's a fact. I've never taken a big loss in the stock market. But do you know where I took my biggest loss in life? I can tell you the biggest losses I've ever taken had nothing to do with the stock market or the investments within those markets. It had everything to do with the decisions I made in life. The decisions on, so stupid decisions that I thought would help. So when I was young, I thought that I was living in North County, San Diego. And if you're familiar with North County, San Diego, it's kind of equestrian. Okay. There's one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country is there, and it's Rancho Santa Fe. And I think it's the wealthiest because everybody there is sort of tied in with horses, the Del Mar racetrack. If you're not familiar with Southern California, or you're not familiar with horses, that might not make a lot of sense to you. But just understand that lots of these horses, are worth half a million, a million, but people have 20 and 30 of them. You have some horses worth 30 million, 40 million. Even just small winning horses. I had a friend who got involved in a horse called Wickedly Perfect. And that horse that they paid there was 4 of them, and I think they paid like $7,000, and it just turned out that she ended up being a huge winner, and they made 1.5 million. And so I think that's why Rancho Santa Fe has such big money. But so I am, I'm in finance, and I'm making good money, and I'm a financial advisor, and I think this is something I should get involved in. Well, like everything else in life, you have to be really careful with what you get involved in, because if you don't understand how it functions, there's a lot of sharks in there that do understand how it functions, and they're going to take you for all you're worth. I mean, that's just the way it goes. Those with more knowledge are going to be able to capitalize on your lack of knowledge. Okay. And so I went into horses. There's 100,000 I lost. Then, I went in and I'm trying to learn to trade stocks. I wasn't one of those guys that was a financial advisor. I told you that, asset allocation is the best model, ride it out, so on and so forth. That wasn't me. I was an active investment manager, a very active. If we're being, completely honest, I was a very active investment manager. So I wanted to learn how to do it. And I took the time to learn it the right way. But in learning that, there's another $100,000, right? And then I go in and I buy real estate in 2008. Now, okay, the crashes hadn't happened, and the real estate market hadn't. It's not like it hadn't completely collapsed yet, but it was in bad shape. And I didn't get a horrible deal on the place, but I owned it for 8 years, and I ended up losing $50,000 on it. I mean, a lot of things happen in your life that have nothing to do with your ability to make money in markets or in crypto or whatever you do. And so the important thing about having a financial plan is it lets you know when you're going off track. And also, you can't make it'll help prevent you from making terrible decisions. Like, did I really have $100,000 to put into horses? No. I mean, I was doing well, but I wasn't doing well enough for that. Did I really? Now, learning to invest and losing 100,000 there, that was fine, right? But I would go out too much. I didn't save enough. I made these basic mistakes, and the reason I made these basic mistakes was I had come from nothing, and I finally, through working like massive amounts of hours and really educating myself and putting everything into this and putting everything into this financial career that I was going to build, I had finally made it. I finally had a little money. And so I'd love to sit back and tell you that I did it right, but I didn't. I didn't do it right. And I didn't do it right because I wasn't structured in my approach. Now, I'm not telling anybody not to go out and have fun. I'm not telling anybody not to take risks or not to learn or not to live through experiences, because I personally believe those are the keys to life. I don't think building a huge investment account or building a huge account is important, but I'll tell you this: life is easier when you have money. It is much, much harder when you don't have money. And it's hokey. And in social media, it's really hokey to say that, hey, there is no such thing as an easy life. It's like, it's hard being rich, it's hard being poor. Pick your hard, right? Because to be wealthy, and they use the term rich, but to be wealthy, you're going to work a lot, right? But to be poor, you're going to put a lot of effort into getting the basic necessities in life. So life is not going to be easy either way, but I can tell you that it's far more difficult when you are in fact broke or when you're just hunting for money. So the biggest mistakes I made were I didn't budget, I didn't save enough, I didn't keep my eye on the targets. Had I done that, had I set that up the right way, I would be, or would have been, for a long time, many times over, a very wealthy guy. But I just kind of kept taking shots. And so the biggest mistake I made, it's relative to what I see people doing nowadays, is not necessarily that I thought I could take shortcuts. It wasn't that. I didn't think I could take shortcuts, but I didn't fully educate myself on the risks I was taking. Okay, I have a strong risk appetite when it comes to wanting to build something, wanting to create something, wanting to make something happen. I have a strong risk appetite when it comes to that. The problem was I didn't educate myself. I just kind of went out there and I said, well, other people, what one man can do, another man can do. What one woman can do, another woman can do. What have you, okay? One person can do, another person can do. That's not me being PC. That's me talking to everybody out there. All right. So, yeah, anybody can do it. That's right. But the people that are doing it and that are doing it successfully, those people have educated themselves on what they're doing. Okay. So if you haven't educated yourself in finance, and what you're doing each day is you're going online and finding the guy that says he knows options best, or finding the guy that says he knows futures best, or finding the guy that says that he understands leverage best, or how to make $1 million with your $500. If you're doing that, you're skipping steps. You're trying to cut through steps. The first step being educating yourself and setting up a financial plan that has an investment plan, and the most basic of investment plans, designed through asset allocation, which is a model used properly, can guide your investments quite well. It can also guide you. And then you can build on that education. And then you start saying, hey, how do I make these investments do better? So I have this foundation. What can I do with these investments now? How do I move this forward? All right. Oh, which, let me pull this up for the first time. I'm having a really large sale for the next 3 days. So the first 1,000 people that purchase the course, or Tuesday night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will end this. I will end this sale. What I'm doing, let me pull this up here. There we go. All right. So for those of you that are on my regular streams, if you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, that is my financial Invest Like a Pro course. That course is typically $500. Right now, it's 95% off. It costs $23. That's what it costs. If you're watching me on TikTok right now, hey, is that Brandon? Hey, Brandon, how you doing? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming, by the way, Brandon. Always a pleasure to have you. Don't forget to hit that like button, my friend. I always appreciate that. So the Invest Like a Pro course, if you are watching me on those other channels, if you're watching me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Live, just go ahead. You can scan the QR code. The coupon code is Pro96. If you're watching me on TikTok right now, you go to prometheaninvesting.com, and then your coupon code is Pro96. That is 7 hours worth of video tutorial and 70-page workbook that will guide you through the very beginning, as if you know nothing. So the history of Wall Street takes you into financial planning. So you'll learn how to set up a financial plan. From there, you will learn what accounts that might be necessary for you. So what retirement accounts, IRAs, Roth IRAs, SEP IRAs, 401ks, joint accounts, custodian accounts, trust accounts, where that will go. And then I will show you how to set up an account, how to transfer funds, and how to move funds in, how to place a trade, how to set up a chart. You will learn everything in that Invest Like a Pro course. Why is the course so cheap? Really simple. I'll tell you exactly why the course is so cheap. I don't want anyone to have a reason why they don't have a proper financial plan put together, a proper foundation to build their life on. It is that simple. There's no excuse. It's $23. Invest Like a Pro, Pro 96. That's at prometheaninvesting.com. Go to prometheaninvesting.com, go to the Invest Like a Pro course, hit buy now. Coupon code Pro96. It will discount you 95% down to $23 on that course. So back to the biggest mistakes that I made. Let me get rid of these. All right. So back to the biggest mistakes that I made. That, I would say, was the biggest mistake in my personal life. And in my pursuit of growth, I was not in pursuit enough of knowledge. So in my pursuit of growth, I was making good money. I knew what I was doing. I was trading well for my clients, and I thought, I can recoup anything that I lose. Let's just figure out a way to diversify myself into other areas that I'm watching people make a lot of money. Okay. And what I see now online quite a bit is what I said to you. It's people trying to take shortcuts, and there are no shortcuts in life. Like, I'm not David Goggins, right? Like, I'm not screaming at you like, motherfucker, you got to get up, you got to move your ass. I don't like, that's not me. I'm not going to scream at you like that. I think it's hilarious, and I do love it. And I read both of Goggins' books. I think they're amazing. But that's not me. I'm not screaming at you like that. But what I'll tell you is, there are no shortcuts. If you have not started saving appropriately, start now. If you are not investing appropriately, start now. It really is that simple. That's something that, again, that I talk about in that course, which is the rule of 72. It gives you a good idea, or actually a great idea, of where you'll be in life. So imagine right now that if you're sitting there and you're 45 years old and you have $100,000, and you think that it's over for you. Like you didn't save appropriately and you're done. How are you going to make up for this? So now you're trying to find all these gimmicky things that everybody's pitching to you that probably aren't going to work for you because you're not a professional trader, right? You have a full-time job. So they're probably not going to work for you. So imagine that you're sitting there doing that when if you had set up a financial plan, you could realize that if you are 45 years old, you have $100,000. By the time you're 70, you could very easily have close to 12 million without doing a ton more saving and just doing some basic investments through asset allocation models. Imagine how much different you would feel as you're sitting there, right? All right, so that's one of my personal mistakes, that my biggest personal mistake I made. And that was really trying to diversify and invest in places that I didn't understand, which is why now I've been in this business for 25 years. Okay. I worked for the biggest firms on Wall Street. I worked for Merrill Lynch. I worked for Wells Fargo Advisors. I ran my own firm for 10 years. And the reason I'm here and I focus on education now and I focus on products that create systems for you, systems that you just follow. Step one of my system is the Invest Like a Pro course. Step two of the system is one of two things. You go to the intermediate investing, trading, and forecasting course, or you start doing one-on-ones with me and we establish a financial plan and an investment plan for you moving forward, packed with rules. Once you have all of that, and we go through that, then you subscribe to my monthly service. And with my monthly service, I give you market breakdowns every single week, which you should be able to do for yourself. But with my help and with my guidance and with my 25 years in this business, you won't have any problem realizing that what I'm saying is accurate and what you're doing is a smart decision. So once you've educated yourself, once you understand how something works, it's really easy to make good decisions. It's really easy to make good decisions once you're at that point. But when you don't understand, the problem is anything that'll strike a chord with your emotions is going to deter you from doing the right thing, right? So the bottom of the last bear market was literally the day that the announcement came out that Russia invaded Ukraine and that we were entering World War III. I remember the headlines. I remember the headlines so vividly. And on that day, and you can look it up, it was October of 2022. I said, buy everything, because with what I do, with what my system offers, I could see that everything was on sale, that it was over. The bear market was over and we were off to the races. And that was on a day that it was announced that Russia was invading Ukraine. So can you imagine, you don't know what I do, how I do it. Like you don't know anything about me and who I am and you've never looked into me. And then all of a sudden I come out on the day that they say World War III is starting, the day that Russia's invading Ukraine, and I say, buy everything, the bear market's over. Just think of how you're going to look at me. I mean, this guy's an idiot. I'm not listening to him. That doesn't make any sense. Of course you're going to say that, and you should, because everyone else in the world is telling you the exact opposite. And if you've never worked with me, if you've never taken part in any of my courses, my mentorships, done any one-on-one coaching with me, if you've never done any of these things, well, you have no idea that the media is not intentionally. The media is going to mislead you. Well, maybe sometimes intentionally, but you're going to be misled a lot from the media. Why? Because they are journalists and artists and writers, or call them whatever you want, but that's what they do, right? They're writers, they're artists. They are emotional creatures that emotion sparks with them. Like that's what they identify with, emotion. Guess what two emotions are the strongest emotions if you're investing or trading? Fear and greed. Fear and greed. So if it comes out that we're having World War III and that Russia's invading Ukraine, do you think journalists, and I don't care if they work for Bloomberg or CNBC or where they work, you really think they're giving you solid financial advice? When was the last time you watched the news and you said, wow, that was really good? They really forecast that well. They called that stock market really, really well. That's amazing. Because I have to tell you, for the last 2 years, since Russia invaded Ukraine and the supposed World War III was starting, all the stock market did was go straight up. And guess when the media started talking about the stock market? Very, very recently. And do you know what that should mean to you? So if you're paying attention right now, I can show you ways that the market is slowly breaking down. We definitely have room in front of us. It is not that difficult to identify tops of markets. It's not, okay? If you're in it for the long term, you're looking to avoid large bear markets and average about 20% per year in your investment account. This is not hard to do. And I can tell you that right now, the media is elated over the stock market. Oh my goodness. It's amazing. Everything's grand. Everything's beautiful. Now, at the actual bottom, when Russia was invading Ukraine and when World War III is being announced, as far as the US is concerned, they told you to sell everything, run for your lives, be afraid. What was the exact thing you should have been doing? The exact opposite. And for anybody who would like to check up on me, please feel free. Feel free. That was in October of 2022. I can tell you a very recent time that the media did that once again. It was on August 5th. Okay. The NASDAQ opened up down 5.5%. The S&P opened up down almost 4%. The Dow opened up down almost 2.5%. So the market's gap down just massive amounts for any market. Okay. And you know what the media was saying? This is the beginning of 2008. Everything's going to crash. Go onto Twitter and check it out. Go on to any news source on August 5th of 2024 and take a look. Now go check me out on August 5th, 2024. And the headline of my live video on August 5th is, "This is not 2008. You should be buying, not selling." Now, I will tell you that I called the bottom of that particular correction one day early. I said that it was going to be on Friday. That was when I thought the bottom was in. Turns out Monday had that huge gap down, and it rallied straight off it ever since. We've never ever gone down since. It's rallied straight up ever since. All right. Now, how did I do that? Well, it's a matter of it's several things that I do. It's several pieces of a system that I do. But the first piece of every system is that financial plan. That is your first piece to the system. Without so that financial plan starts with the history of Wall Street, and then it helps you evaluate your life. How much money do you make? How much are you saving? How much do you have currently invested? How is it currently invested? Because you may not even know how you're currently invested if you're working with a financial advisor or you have someone handling it for you. So, how is it invested? What's your average rate of return? Right. And then you say, okay, well, these are all my inputs. This is my life. And then it says, okay, so what would you like? Well, I'd like to retire at this age. I'd like to have this much money. Beautiful. So what will happen is it'll go through a Monte Carlo simulation. It will scramble up your life. So every possible thing that can happen, good and bad in your life, will get scrambled 1,000 times. Then it'll scramble the stock market returns 1,000 times over. Meaning, like in one life you have a bull market first, in the next life you have a bear market first, in another life you have a bear market that never ends, in another life you have a bull market that never ends, and it'll scramble that up 1,000 times, and then it'll give you a probability that you're successful. So maybe you're successful 90% of the time. Well, if you're successful 90% of the time, you can probably take a little risk off the table, because in a Monte Carlo simulation, in my opinion, anything that is 80% or more, 85% or more probability of success is good enough. That's all you want. Okay. So you'll do that. And then you'll go in and you'll learn about asset allocation. In fact, let me put it up here. So right now I am doing a very large sale. Okay. And I am doing this because I have this listed at $500. I have this course listed at $500. And right now I have it 95% off, which is $23 for that course. You're going to go through, you're going to learn the history of Wall Street. You're going to learn how to set up a financial plan based on Monte Carlo simulation. You'll have all the free software for that. Then you're going to go through, you're going to learn about asset allocation. Then you're going to learn about the different retirement vehicles, the different types of accounts. So some IRA, Roth IRA, joint, custodian, trust, Sapphire. You're going to go learn your accounts. Then you're going to learn how to set up. Let me do that. Then you're going to learn how to set up an account at like an E-Trade or whatever. Most of you already know how to do that. You'll learn how to place a trade if you don't know how to do that. All of that is for $23. Okay. If you're watching me on TikTok right now, go to prometheaninvesting.com, go down to invest like a pro, and the coupon code is PRO96. All right, I'm going to take that down again. We don't need to look at that the entire time. So here you are. And so as we have been talking and as we've been discussing here, what we're doing is we're learning that you can identify tops and you can identify bottoms, right? And how do you do that? So let's talk a little bit about how do you identify these areas. So you say, okay, Derek, I believe you. Fine. There is a way that you can see when a large bear market is coming. Okay, fine. There is a way you can see when a large bull market's coming. So I believe you. I believe you that the media, whether intentional or whether not intentional, the media is ruled by their emotions. And because they're ruled by their emotions, they tend to get it wrong a lot. All right. And when you're trying to come up with news stories on a 24-hour cycle, which they do now, all of these guys that are experts, their biggest problem is they're consistently trying to be salacious to get you excited, to get you involved. All right, which kind of goes against what they should be doing. But if you're not watching, then they're not making money. If they're not making money, there's no reason for them to be on the air. Okay. So, but while they're trying to be salacious and while they're trying to make things exciting for you, guess what they're doing to their own foundation and investments, their own, knowledge in investing. They're actually stirring up their own emotions, which is oftentimes why you'll see them get so much wrong. Someone famous for getting a lot wrong is Jim Cramer. I have several reasons that I think that he is wrong as often as he is. I mean, one of them being the guy gives you an opinion on every stock that's ever traded. There's absolutely no way that guy isn't going to completely fumble certain things. Then also, like he's synonymous. I think it was 2 days before the bottom in 2009. That guy said, sell everything and go into CDs. I'm not kidding. It really was. I mean, I remember listening to him say it and I'm going, we are like right at the bottom here. Why is this guy talking this way? The truth is he's in media, right? He's whether he likes it or not, he's a journalist now. And while he's trying to get everybody excited or fearful or whatever he's trying to do, he's doing it to himself. There's just no way for him to stay partial. So let's talk about it from your point of view, from an investor or a trader's point of view. How can you identify the top of a market if some of the best guys on Wall Street can't identify the top of a market? Well, the truth is they can. All right. So I'm going to say that now. They absolutely can. All right. Are they doing it through reading about economics? No, they're not. How do I know that? Okay, simple. Because economics, um, the stock market precedes the economics by about 6 months. So the stock market is a forecasting mechanism of economics 6 months from now. Okay. So can economics guide you? No. So why does the market seem to have jumps and moves on the day that news is released? Well, if you notice, or if you haven't paid attention, or maybe you're going to start paying attention now, what you'll usually see on these during these big events is the stock market will have a big move. It will in fact have it, and then it will go right back to whatever path it was on. The reason is that's just a gambling day. So for people that are involved in the market and they're in there trying to, um, they're day trading and they're just trying to scalp. Maybe they're trying to scalp. Maybe they're a real day trader. They use those days because they're days that they can capture money. Not there's nothing wrong with that, but that's why you'll see that happen a lot. And more now, you're going to see that happen more and more now. You're going to see more day trading. You're going to see more scalping. Why? The use of options is up like 500, 800% from 8 years ago. The use of futures is the same. More people are using options and futures now than have ever in history. And the reason for that is you don't really know. But if someone asks me, I think there's a lot of people out there that are getting more sophisticated. I think that's one reason. I think one reason is people are getting more sophisticated. But sadly, I think another reason is this younger generation, and this isn't knocking younger generations, they're realizing that they're starting off in a much more difficult position than the preceding generation. So they're trying to make up ground. That's what I believe. Everybody thinks this young generation, they want to get it quick. They're trying to skip things. They're trying to this, they're trying to that. No, the truth is they're starting in a hole. All right. The world is in a hole right now. The only people that have any money are the people that have all the money. They've made more money and more money and more money. And the people at the bottom, the people that are just starting out, they don't stand a chance. There was an article that came out, and it was by NBC or ABC the other day, and it said that right now, that home ownership, new home ownership, first-time home buyers are the oldest they've ever been in U.S. history since we began recording the data. So the first-time home buyers median age right now is 38 years old. Do you have any idea of how old 38 is to buy your first house? Go ask a boomer when they bought their first house. Now, some of them are going to defend their position and blah, 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 blah. They're not being honest with themselves because they want to believe that they did that. When the fact of the matter is, the multiple on their annual income versus the home was like a two. The multiple now is like a five or a six. Five times your annual income, six times your annual income. Back then, it was like two and a half times your annual income to buy your first house. Try to save up a down payment under those conditions. By the way, inflation is also insane right now. So there's a lot of reasons. I don't blame this younger generation for what they're doing. What I would like to tell them is stop doing it. Stop what you're doing. You don't need to do that. If you do it the right way, do you know what will happen to prices for you? Do you have any idea what will happen to prices for you? When no one can afford or no one is willing to pay a certain price for something, do you know what happens to that something? The price has to come down. This is very basic supply and demand. The price has to come down, guys. You don't have to try to catch up to anybody. Just stop buying it. And let me tell you something. That those 38-year-olds, the median age for first-time home buyers was 38. And guess where they got the money for their down payment? Can anyone guess? No, no one yet. Hi, CC. Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. They got it through inheritance. In that very article, it said that people that are doing the jobs that run this country, EMTs, police officers, construction workers, road workers, electricians, journeymen, in unions that do like multiple things, obviously, roofers, framers, these people, they have no chance of ever owning a home. In that same article, it said that. But let me tell you this, and this is something I can tell you. I'm 45 years old. I've been studying this stuff for 25, 30 years. And let me tell you something. When something becomes unaffordable to the group that is supposed to be able to afford it, prices drop. So stop trying to catch up. Build a proper financial plan around your real life. How much money do you make? What's your rent? How much can you save per month? How much can you invest per month? What are your goals? How much would you like to have? How much do you believe you should have? Okay. Once you've structured that, then you go on and you learn what asset allocation is and how to use it and how to diversify your assets. I was never someone that did asset allocation, buy and hold, set it and forget it. That was never me. I called it the buy and hope strategy. I said hoping is not a strategy. I was synonymous for saying hope is not a strategy. And I still believe that. But that is where you start. Where you start is with learning about asset classes, what they mean, what they do, how you diversify them, how that can help you. My course does that for you. Okay. My Invest Like a Pro course does that for you. It walks you through everything I'm talking about right now. So if you're on TikTok, it's myprometheaninvesting.com. It's in my profile. But you go down to the Invest Like a Pro course, and the coupon code is Pro96. All right. If you are on any of the other social media channels, you can just click on the QR code. The coupon code is Pro96. It will walk you through setting up a proper financial plan, and then it will walk you through asset allocation. It will walk you through how to set up an account, how to place a trade. It is 7.5 hours of video tutorial with me talking to you the way I am now. It's not slideshows with voiceover. You never see a person. You're going to feel like you and I are doing this together. All right. You get a 70-page workbook, and then you'll have email access to me. If you run into any real problems, you let me know and I'll help you sort it out. Okay. If you start doing this and you realize maybe you'd rather pay to have someone do this for you, you reach out to me and we'll figure something out. Okay. People pay me to do this for them every day. But the reason I'm doing this right now is I don't want there to be an excuse for anyone not to take this course. I want everyone, and I mean in the world, not in the country, in the world, to take this course. And the reason I want them to take it is because if you have a solid financial foundation, everything stems from that. All right. It's like, what's that old saying? I did I did construction. I worked for a couple restoration companies. I hung board. I mean, I did brick face, I did foundations. I mean, you name it, I've done everything in construction. And there's like an old saying, it says something about like building a house on sand or building a house on like crap foundation or something like that. The same thing goes with your finances. If you don't have a solid foundation and a solid knowledge and education, you have to educate yourself, everybody. This is about education, and that's what this course does for you. So if you're on TikTok, it's prometheaninvesting.com. Go to my Invest Like a Pro course. The coupon code is PRO96. It is 7.5 hours of video tutorial with me. You may or may not want to watch it all. A sixth grader can learn how to do this in about 2 hours. You will learn how to set up a proper financial plan and also how to set up a proper asset allocation with your investments, how to set up an account, how to place a trade, which account you need to set up. If you run into any problems, you have email access to me. I'm going to go ahead and put this QR code away again and get back to the conversation that we were having. Um, we were talking about what were we talking about before I jumped into the solid foundation? Oh, we were talking about identifying tops and bottoms of markets because that is the next step, right? So that's the step everybody loves. Okay, great. Like, what are the investments? What coin should I be buying? Should I be buying Bitcoin now? Should I be waiting? Should I be buying stocks now? Should I be buying bonds now? What should I be doing right now? Like, what's the investment part? Like, I want to know that. So let's just go ahead and say that. Let's pre-assume that you did set up the found. Oh, we were also talking about housing. And listen to me. This goes out to all the younger generation, which is why I have priced that course at $23, which is that's an insane price. Okay, that's 25 years of knowledge I'm giving you for nothing. All right. I'm making you pay for it mainly because I have to charge someone to do that much work, right? I sell those all day at $500, all day. That sale that's going on right now, it is only going to go on for 72 hours. Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. it ends. Or if 1,000 of those things sell before Tuesday at 11:59, it's shut down without a doubt. I think right now we're at like 113 courses that we've sold so far today. We sold 113 courses today. But we have this was the first day we were doing it. We'll see. I don't know if it'll get to 1,000 or not. It's not a goal I'm trying to achieve, but once I've sold 1,000 of those, um, and there isn't anyone in your room, because I said, bro, I keep passing through and there isn't anyone in your room. Do you know how to check how many people are? I don't know how to check how many people are in my live. How do I do that? And hey, listen, another question for you. If you're saying there's nobody in my room, what do I do? Like, should I invite people to show up in the room? What do I do? Because I said, you will see one. I don't even see a one because I said it just says zero all the time. Should I invite people to come to this? Like, is that a better idea? I mean, I'm doing well on the other channels. I can tell you that. Get on another device and go into your own live. Oh, okay. I could do that. All right. I'll do that. What do you do about getting people into the live if, in fact, no one's showing up through TikTok? Although I know some are because they're clicking through to my website and I can see that. But, like, what do because that thing always sits at a zero. You will see what we see. Oh, all right. Hold on. I'll check it out right now. So, I'm gonna jump over to TikTok here for everybody that is on something else that I am on. All right, let me go back. Let me go over. Um, I want to see where I'm at. I would just want to see like what I look like on this TikTok live and see like I wanna see what everyone else is seeing. Let me see here. Here, let me get rid of that. Okay. Whoop. Okay. Let me check that out. Oh, there we are. I'll see what you see. Let me see. Okay, one chat. Get on another device. Go live. You'll see. Need more cowbell. You're not kidding. I need more cowbell. Oh, okay. So I see. Yeah, zero hearts. One biggest mistakes I made as an FA. Yeah, I don't know because I said I guess I'll just keep doing. It says two now. Yeah, I see that. I don't know. I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, man, and hope somebody shows up. I suppose because I don't really know what else to do. Uh, that's the truth. I don't really know what else to do. So I guess I'll just keep going, man. I guess no one wants to hear this. I don't know. I enjoy doing it though. I know that. So I'm just gonna keep talking. So that hey, because I said thanks, I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. So let's talk about I'm rooting for you, man. I know a dedicated MF when I hear one. Right, right. I am one, dude. I am totally a dedicated dude, man. So I'm just gonna keep it going. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it won't. I'll do what I do. I don't know. So everybody wants to skip to the investments, right? And investments are important because if you've optimized, I always tell everybody this too. Listen, it sounds like I'm just this guy who wants you to take a financial course and that's all I'm focused on and that's what I think is best for you. I think that's your best starting point. I want to be really really clear on that. That's your best starting point. If you don't start there, everything you do after that sucks because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes based on emotion. Your emotion will get the best of you. Any of you out there who think you have all the, you're stoic. This is fun. This is like fun online right now, right? Like we're all stoic. We're all going to be this guy. Like I'm a warrior in a garden, you know. And by the way, I trained jiu-jitsu, grew up a wrestler, love Muay Thai and boxing. I love all that stuff. That's not the point here. The point here is no, you're not. You're going to make mistakes because the goal of institutional money in these markets is to get you to make a mistake. You will make mistakes. And those mistakes are not going to be intentional on your part, but they will be intentionally like put onto you. So let's talk about it. Let's just talk about real quickly what the next step is. So you've optimized this financial plan, which, as I've said a million times over, and I'm going to say a million times more, if you haven't done that, you shouldn't even be listening to this next part because it doesn't matter. You're going to blow it until you go do the foundational financial plan first. But the next thing is looking at investments. That is your next step. That is what you're going to do. Because if you're now well aware of exactly what's going to occur in your life, right? You know how much you're making right now. You know how much you have to invest. You know how much you're saving. You know what that should do for you and when it should do it. Meaning, you know that by age 70, you're going to have $12 million based on what you're doing right now. So you know how much you're saving, you know what it's going to do for you, and you know when. Okay. Once you've done that, now it is time to optimize your investments. 100%. Is there anything you would do in this life that's not how it works? It's like, look, if you were a cook and you were going to start cooking, you're going to jump on the stove, you're going to mess up a few chickens, you're going to make some runny mashed potatoes. But as that gets better, you're going to start really getting into it. Now you're going to start learning how to make sauces, right? You're going to get into sauce. You're going to progress. Now, and I love food, by the way. I love good food. I love amazing food. And I love learning. That's like fun for me. For me, learning is fun. I love learning. You're not going to put something new in front of me that I'm not going to enjoy doing, right? Especially if it impacts my life the way that money does. And I have to tell you, that's why precisely I got involved in finance in the first place. I grew up really poor, and I know how devastating it is to your life not to have money. Look at all this crap online about van life and walk away from the system and so on and so forth. I can tell you that most people at some point in their life think they're going to walk away from the system. And do you know what they find out? 9.9 times out of 10 once they walk away from the system. So they walk away from the system. Do you know what 99% of those people come back and say to you? They'll come back and say to you, you actually, to defeat the system, you have to beat the system. What do they mean by that? To defeat the system, you have to beat the system. It means for there to be most people, what we want in life is freedom. We want choices. We want to be able to do what we want to do. That's what we want. That's what we want from our lives. That's what we want our money to do for us. Well, guess what? When you have no money, you have no choice. What do you think? You just get to jump up and fly on planes for free? Now, some of these guys are out there and they're doing it on like they're doing things for free and they're trying to get merit out of that, meaning like people support them and offer them financial, like they give them funding and I'm sure that happens, but you're talking about a very, very small select few. And I'm gonna say something pretty wild right now. So bear with me for 1 second. But do you know who the greatest people to study are? If you want to know the people that want to escape from our current state of being, who they were and what they did about that, look at the hippies of the 70s. Free love, drugs, parties, girls, boys, men, women, women, men. Everything went. The summer of love, baby. Everything went. Who are those people now? Those are the people you're judging that live on these golf courses and these giant houses while you're stuck in a 1 and 2 bedroom apartment trying to fight it out with your kids, trying to make enough money to get by. Those are the people everybody's talking smack on right now. Those are the hippies. Those are the hippies. Let that sink in. I want you to think about that. The hippies are the greediest generation that has ever lived. The boomers. They are by far, I repeat myself, and I want you to listen, they are by far the greediest generation that has ever lived. And what did they want? Freedom, choice, anti-government, no one telling them what to do, right? 2 middle fingers in the air. That's what they wanted. And do you know what they found? The only way out of the system was through the system. I have been listening for 20 years to my counterparts, my co-professionals, call them what you want. Tell me why the market was going to crash when the boomers started withdrawing their money. But let me tell you something. They're not going anywhere. Most of them are 75 and 80 years old, and I'm surrounded by them, by the way, where I happen to live. And they're on their bikes every day pedaling. You want to talk to somebody about money, you want to talk to somebody about like how they want to get ahead, what they want to do, go talk to a 75 or 80-year-old. You think I'm lying? They're not done. They don't see any end to their life. The end of their life is going to be the day they go in the casket. You want some more proof? Who fits into that generation? Well, our new president does, Donald Trump. Do you know that Donald Trump was awake for 72 hours on the night of the election? I don't mean like when the election finished. I mean, when he started the night, when he started his rallies, when we started the election, that man had been up for 72 hours. How old is that guy? Okay. That's the boomer generation. That's who it is. The hippies. The greediest generation in history are the hippies. It's crazy. Guess who else the hippies are? They're all the tech guys, the guys with all the money. Guess who else are the freest people in the world? All these cults. If you haven't watched it, there's an amazing documentary, something with Oregon, Wild Wild West. It was about a cult in Oregon. They have I build in Pinehurst. They are my best customers. That's right, because I said they are your best customers. Pinehurst, where's that Pinehurst? You're right, they are your best customers because I said, and let me tell you something, they're not going anywhere. They spend their money, they build new houses, they build new things, they buy new things. They're still, I'm not telling you that you should like this, right? Listen to me. This isn't me advocating for what's going on. I have 2 kids and a wife, and I deal with all this inflation. I deal with these high home prices too. Let me tell you that it's not easy. But let me tell you, the reason I bring them up is because everybody's under this impression, or maybe they're not under the impression. They think that you're going to walk away. North Carolina. That's where I thought Pinehurst. No, I've been there. My sister-in-law lived out in North Carolina. I spent a ton of time out there in Southern Pines. It's what's that major? There's a base out there, an army base. Is it Rayford? Is it in Rayford? Fort Bragg? I think that's right. I think that's right because I said I think that's right. Fort Bragg. Yeah. So it was right there. So it was Southern Pines. I spent a couple years at Fayetteville. Bang, that's right. Fayetteville. Yeah. So I'm familiar with North Carolina. Love the weather out there. Asheville's fun up on the mountain. I like it up there. I like the bottom too. It's called Fort. Oh, it's Fort Liberty now. I think I knew that it was called Fort Liberty now. I think I did know that. My sister-in-law was like so she was like retired military, and she was there, and then she did where you're like you're private but you still work for the military. She did that there, and she lived outside of Fayetteville in Rayford, and then we would go like stay with her. We'd stayed when my mother-in-law was sick, and we would go down to Southern Pines a lot, which when you said Pinehurst, that made me think of Southern Pines for obvious reasons. Cool spot though. Cool spot because I said. So yeah, so when I say that the way out of the system, the way to freedom is through the system, that's what I mean. All right. I was talking about that cult, Wild Wild West. There's a couple really interesting things about this cult. First off, they were incredibly smart. They built a city and they were like on their way to taking over Oregon with this guru out of India. Something interesting to know about that is everybody remembers Jonestown. Everybody knows Jim Jones and that whole cult. Something wild about cults is their allure. Their allure is the same allure of like communism. This everything's going to be fair, everything's going to be equal, right? So check this out. The daughter of the senator that was killed in French Guiana by Jim Jones' men was her father. And then she went and joined another cult in Oregon. It's called Wild Wild West, I believe it's called. All right. You got to watch it. You have to watch it. And so what happens is they literally build this elaborate city, all the, and then they go and they start basically rigging elections, bussing people in, right? They bust people in. It's the oldest way to rig an election. So for those of you out there that think that there's no connection between bringing illegal immigrants into swing states and then rigging elections, you're just not paying attention. Wild Wild Country, they did that too, right? Yeah, Wild Wild Country, that's what it's called, Wild Wild Country. And they were doing that in Oregon, and they took over 2 towns or 3 towns before somehow the Oregon state kind of legislature got involved and blocked them. But to give you an idea of how alluring it is to think of communism, see, communism sounds great. Socialism sounds amazing. We're all going to be fair. We're all going to be equal. Everybody's going to have some, right? We're going to take our collective minds, our collective wealth, and we're going to battle the man. This sounds like a great concept. The fact of the matter is it doesn't work out that way because humans are involved. And in this wild, wild country, what everyone found out, including the woman whose father was killed by Jim Jones down in French Guiana, was that main guru was stealing all of it. He had like 8 Rolls Royce. He has private jets. They built an airport in that town, right? They built an airport there. And so all of these cult members, they literally they got together because they wanted out of the system. And that's the conversation we're having if you're new to joining us, is that so many people now think they want out of the system. I want out of the system to avoid the system. I'm going to ignore the system, and then the system won't affect me. But that is absolutely incorrect. And what everybody found out in Wild Wild Country, what so many of those members found out in Wild Wild Country, was the way out was through. Do you know what most of the leaders in Wild Wild Country cult in Oregon ended up being? They're tech magnates. Go watch the documentary and watch the end of it when you see that most of the people running things have hundreds of millions of dollars now from selling software company, from selling technology, from whatever they sold. They live where they want and they do what they want. Why? In this world, in this human world, and I love the spiritual world. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I love the spiritual world in many ways, and there's a lot of peace that comes with spirituality, believing in God, believing in something bigger. There's things that it can help you. It can help you through tough times. You can feel things. Something's bigger than you, greater than you. That's an amazing thing. But don't you ever mistake the fact that you live in the human world. You live in man's land, right? You live in woman's land. It's a human land. And in human land, being poor quadruples your struggles. It binds you like a slave. You are trapped. And there is no escaping. There's no escaping that through communal anything, through fairness and evenness anywhere, right? I'm not telling you that you need to be greedy, but what I am telling you is if you're making financially sound decisions, if you decide, hey, I am going to do the right thing, I am going to build a proper financial foundation, I am going to educate myself, I'm going to build a financial plan. I'm going to build an investment plan. You decide that you're going to do that. The next logical step is to optimize those investments because money is the way through, right? You want to defeat it, you have to beat it. And to beat it, you have to go through it. You have to go through the system. So now you need to optimize your investments. And you can go through, well, I talked about the bottom of 2022. I talked about August 5th of this year. Please go check up on me. I have so much content out there that gives you dates, that gives you times, it gives you positions, it gives you target prices, dates of those target prices. Go check me out. How do you identify those positions? Well, we were talking earlier about the fact that, earlier today, not in this live. Earlier, I was explaining to people that, a lot of people want to believe that there's some shadowy government or some shadowy group that's actually in control and kind of pulling the strings. And to some extent, I suppose that's true in the sense that George Carlin says it's true. He says, look, you don't have to have a written conspiracy for there to be a conspiracy. If these people all go to the same schools, they grew up in the same towns, they go to the same, private colleges, they belong to the same country clubs, they vacation in the same places. They are simply protecting their self-interests. And they all know what each other's self-interests are because they all hang out together. So it's not like there's this collective group that is intentionally holding you down. It's that they are protecting their self-interests, as most people do. Most people protect their self-interest first. They're not worried about what's fair and what's right. I don't agree with that way of living, but that is the way it is. That is life. That is what's going to happen to you over and over and over. And if you're younger now and you haven't accepted that yet, it took me till I was almost 40 years to accept that. I've been burned so many times I can't tell you because I didn't want to live that way. I didn't want to say, "Hey, I should bargain for myself as hard as I possibly can. Let that person bargain for themselves as hard as they possibly can, and then we'll have the best result." I didn't believe that. I actually still don't believe that. I believe there's a way to enter a negotiation extremely fair. Both sides win. You both look at it, you go, okay, sounds good. But what's really going to happen is if you do that, then the other person is going to say, oh, I can get more. And they'll go for it. So, remember that. Remember that. Okay. So there isn't a collective conspiracy, but what there is a bunch of people that go to the same schools, vacation the same places, they work they work in the same areas, they belong to the same country clubs, so on and so forth. And when they do make moves, they do tend to make them together, right? So trading desks, when you work in one trading desk, you know guys that work at other trading desks and guys that work in other ones, and they know the guy that works over in bonds. They know the guy that's over there in oil. They all know each other, right? When moves start to be made, they'll typically seem to happen across multiple different trading desks, right? And then you have your trend followers. Now that we're in this world of machine learning and machine trading, and they're calling it AI, I think it's just machine trading and machine learning, basically setting these same levels over and over. It creates like a trend following nightmare, or I believe it's going to become a trend following nightmare. It's already increasing volatility so much. I forget what it was. It was a couple weeks ago. The Dow Jones in 1 week lost 2.7%. I can assure you that is new. That did not happen before. This is just people piling on because their program says to pile on. And then all of a sudden it rallies, then you come into the day after election day and it's up 3.5%. It gaps up 3.5%. So volatility is already increased in all markets. We move down faster, we move up faster, and we're doing it in huge swings, right? So volatility has increased. And so with all of that, volume is easier now to see. So trading activity is much easier for all of us to see. So when you see trading activity, so there's one thing that can't be hidden. There's a lot of people that'll talk about like shadow dark pools, shadow money, all this kind of stuff. The one thing that can't be hidden is trading activity. It's volume. You can't hide volume. Okay. So if these people are all placing trades, those trades show up whether you like it or not. There's no dark pool. Those trades are going to show up. And when they do, if a big bunch of volume shows up in 1 week, so you have 300% more trades take place this week in December. I'm literally going to describe December of 2021 right now. Show up in 1 week in December, 300% more volume, a huge volume bar in 1 week after the market has rallied 100% since the 2020 lows. I assure you, nearly 100% of the time, 99.99999% of the time, that is institutional selling. We are heading into a bear market, and this is going to be a deep bear market. How do you know it's going to be a deep bear market? Simple. 300% volume after 100% run up in 1 week. If you don't know how to find that on a chart, DM me, email me, do something, get a hold of me, comment, and I will tell you how to see that. It is plain as the nose on your face. And if you want to learn how to do that, you can learn that through my intermediate investing, trading, and forecasting course, which happens to be part of the deal going on right now through Tuesday at midnight. All right, where it's 95% off. This is typically a $2,000 course. I sell a few of these a month at $2,000. It is right now on sale for $100. If you are on my LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, you can see the QR code right there. Click it. There's a coupon code intermediate95. Intermediate95. If you are watching me on TikTok, and I know that I had someone come on because I said came on and told me that I can look at it on a separate device, but I'm not staring at the other device. And since my thing just sits here at 0, I'm assuming that there must be someone here. I don't know, but you can go on to PrometheanInvesting.com. On PrometheanInvesting.com, go to the intermediate trading, investing, and forecasting course, which is really a system. Click buy now. Your coupon code is intermediate95. It will show you how to identify selling at tops. It will also tell you how to identify buying at bottoms. And it will show you how the market moves based on price, volume, and then gaps. Gaps being able, you can identify time and price targets using gaps. Okay. So there is the intermediate trading, investing, and forecasting. I'm going to take a quick 20-minute break, and then I am going to come back onto live, and let's see what we should discuss. We're going to discuss leverage. I had someone on earlier who said that they knew how to turn $500 into $10,000 because they could take their $500, trade $100,000 with it. And so their 500 is now worth 100,000. So I want to talk about leverage and what that means to the trading and investing game here shortly. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll be back in about